Alright, so today I'm going to make a little follow-up video, mostly about the arcteryx Nuclei SV, and answer a few questions that were in the comments about it, as well as go into a little bit more detail on why I purchased it, and kind of the benefits of this jacket versus other belay parkas that are super warm synthetic jackets out there. Some of the things I'm going to go over in this video are not just this jacket, but also what things Arcteryx makes that are really worth spending that extra money for. As far as the jacket, I'm going to go into a little bit of how warm, like what's the warmth you can really expect from this. Loft retention, that's a big one that I found was really hard in doing my research, was like also the most important thing with a jacket like this, and it was the hardest to figure out. Like how long it's going to retain its loft and retain its durability over a long period of time. And then I'm going to go a little bit into PrimaLoft versus Coreloft, and a little bit about the internals of the jacket. And then I'm also going to talk about the Proton LT, which is my other jacket, and kind of why I chose to get this jacket as well as that jacket for my two money spending choices of layers. So first we're going to start off with addressing the actual warmth of a jacket like this. So if you want to get a synthetic jacket and you want it to be as warm as like a Canada Goose, like 800 power fill down jacket, or honestly like even a North Face 700 power fill down or 600 power fill down jacket that packs up like super tiny, this is not going to be as warm as that. For something with synthetic insulation to be as warm as a down product, it's going to have between 300 grams and 350 grams of synthetic insulation to even compare to down insulation. Down insulation is absolutely superior in terms of warmth to anything man-made at this current point in time. Hopefully that will change, but for now that's just the reality of the situation. So while this jacket is super warm and really good at venting heat and will keep you warm while you're wet, don't expect to spend $400 on something like this and be like super boiling hot standing still in -15 all night long, because that's just not the case. It does have its advantages, which I talked a lot about in my last video, which is why I got it. But so this jacket in particular has 2 layers of 92 gram sheet insulation, continuous insulation, which is really important. I talked a lot about continuous versus baffled insulation a lot in my last video, so go check that out. For something to be as warm as a like 700-800 power fill down jacket, around 200 grams of insulation isn't going to cut it. And that's pretty much the warmest these jackets go, is around 200. I think the Mountain Equipment Citadel has 200 grams of continuous insulation in the jacket. Granted, it is a different type of insulation, so I'm not saying that that jacket is going to be warmer than this one. It certainly is a bit heavier. It's like almost 900 grams versus this, which is like 650, I think. Anyways, not a huge difference. But moral of the story is, if you're expecting to get a jacket like this that is equivalent to a down jacket, it's not a reality yet. Okay, so that brings me to my next topic, which is I had a comment addressing the weird fit. So in my last video I was talking about how I wasn't super happy with the fit of it. It was like it felt like it was made for like someone fat. And the reason for that is because this jacket is meant to go over, and thank you for that comment, whoever said that, is meant to go over your base layer, then your fleece, then your shell. So this actually goes over all of your other layers. And so that's why it has a really bulky, big fit, and it's not something like the Proton, which has a really nice fit, for me at least, just like right up to your body. This has a lot of space in between because it's meant to be worn over literally every single layers, even your shell. Alright, so now I'm going to go into some more details about this particular jacket, as well as Coreloft in general, and PrimaLoft versus Coreloft, and we'll get into Loft Retention also. And then at the end I'll talk about which products, like why I got these 2 products from Arcteryx and not really anything else. I'll say again, perhaps the hardest thing I was trying to figure out in my research is the Loft Retention. So of all the different various synthetic jackets, another thing I found challenging was that there's so many different types of synthetic insulation out now. It just kind of is like, oh my god, like right when you learn about one, you figure out there's like 3 different others that other companies are using, etc., etc. After reading a ton of Reddit threads, this is what I figured out about this particular jacket. And I'm actually going to read a quote. 2 people who are super helpful on Reddit for figuring this stuff out in r/mountaineering, r/nosquid, and this guy, r/astromail. He's writing this review about the Dully jacket, and the Nuclei is the predecessor to the Dully. Obviously, the Dully was an amazing jacket, and Arcteryx isn't gonna like, they're not gonna ruin something that was already great. So I'm kind of carrying over some information that was about the Dully that I'm pretty damn sure is exactly the same in this jacket. So this is what r/astromael, ASTRAMAEL, has to say in the Reddit thread that was comparing PrimaLoft to Coreloft, as well as the Dully versus the Das Parka, and I thought it was really intriguing. So he says, quote, edit, now that I have a bit more time, I'll expand a bit about why the Dully is better. Insulation is continuous filament in self-coherent sheets. It is laminated to the face textile, not hung or baffled. What they mean by hung or baffled is when you have non-continuous filament in a jacket, it's just basically they're sewn the little squares like you see in down jackets, and when you buy a synthetic jacket, you're going to get one that you are going to get it wet a lot and wash it a lot more than down. And what will happen is a synthetic insulation in there will kind of sink to the bottom of the baffles. So that'll leave you with cold spots, whereas continuous insulation, which is arguably the most important thing you want to look for when buying a warm synthetic jacket, has no cold spots. So, especially when it gets wet. It is not hung or baffled. This means that it has excellent loft retention, few seams, and excellent evenness. No cold spots. A major contrast to PrimaLoft Gold, which is well known for losing loft rapidly, and in the Citadel, it is quilted. The Dully doesn't give any shits about being wet. Further, once water saturates the face textile, it doesn't really have anywhere to go. The insulation is highly hydrophobic and is glued straight to the textile. So that's just saying that the insulation that's used in here is glued directly to the outer part of the jacket. The Dully basically doesn't take on water at all. You can wear it like a shell for hours and not get wet in a torrent. As a test, I took my Dully out of the washing machine and put it on wet. The insulation hadn't collapsed with saturation. It wasn't very wet, and it was still fully warm. Try that with PrimaLoft Gold, and you'll have a very different experience. The interior and exterior textiles are the same back and 30R, so that is one difference about the Nuclei, is that it's 10 or 15 denier, outer and inner, whereas the Dully was 30, I guess. The features you need and none you don't. Hand pockets, enormous internal drop pockets, big hood, big fit, hem elastic, stretch cuffs, and that's it. And I went into all the details of this jacket in my last video. But he also goes on to say a bit in the thread that he's had his jacket for like 8 or 9 years, and the loft was fully has still kept its loft retention, and that was Coreloft, which is the same stuff that's in here. So that really sold me versus the PrimaLoft Gold, which had some other people in the thread talking about how Coreloft just retains its loft and lasts so much longer than PrimaLoft. Arguably, both jackets are really good, and even after all of this nitpicking, I would still suggest get the jacket that fits you best. But yeah, that's what really sold me, so helpful quote there. Another thing that Coreloft has that PrimaLoft does not have is it has a bunch of different size fibers, and it has 2 sheets with dead air space in the middle. So I don't know exactly why, but because it has all those different size fibers and it's directly glued to the fabric, it's just way better loft retention, whereas PrimaLoft has the same size fibers throughout, and I believe is just 1 sheet of continuous insulation. Yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Bye.